I welcome every one of us to today's lightning session. So we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic, uh, that's RabbitMQ, and we'll be using it to build a real-time chat app. So without much explanation, let me share my screen. Um, okay. Mm. Okay. So confirm you can see my screen. Okay, confirm you can see my screen. Okay, good. Is my voice audible? Like, am I audible? Okay,
Yeah,
very good.
your voice is coming out clear. Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So, we'll be talking about RabbitMQ. So, it's an introduction, RabbitMQ, and we'll use RabbitMQ to build the real-time chat app. So, um, what we'll be covering, we'll talk a brief about RabbitMQ. What is RabbitMQ? Why RabbitMQ? And then the workflow, how it works. We see a visual representation of how RabbitMQ flows. It's quite very basic. And then we'll talk of one very important thing there also, that I say the key player in RabbitMQ you get, which is the different types of exchange. And then the importance of RabbitMQ. Then, since you are dealing with real-time chat, what you are building on top is not replacing entirely, because it's still WebSocket. You get to see WebSocket working under the hood. So it's just we are building it on top, like we are using RabbitMQ over the WebSocket. You get it's still WebSocket maintaining the stateful connections. You get. So and we're talking about the WebSocket. Just look at its own features, and then we look at the RabbitMQ, how it now covers for WebSocket. And then also we'll be talking about JSON converter. So this is a very key. This is also a very important aspect. So I'll be talking daily from my experience and the bugs, the different bugs I face, and how I was able to overcome them. So, and then do not serialize raw Java objects. It has been said that they have said it before, you've heard it at some point, and I'm telling you now, do not serialize raw Java object. There are lots of alternatives that you can use. So I'm giving this out now. Do not serialize Java. Do not that serialize implement Java object serialize this. Don't do that. So um let me go to the second side. So we'll be doing a coding, like to be just very basic coding, just very sharp see how it works. The front end is already ready, the back we can just do that from scratch, but the code is already ready. We've just been doing a lot of copy and paste. But what I would ultimately do is that we get like the system design of how it goes. So once you have that in your head, you don't need to cram a code, you don't need to cram bunch of codes in your head. You just know the working principle and how it flows. You get from start to finish. So what is RabbitMQ? Let's answer that very, very important question. So what is RabbitMQ? RabbitMQ is a message broker, and I'm sure some of us might have heard of broker before. What's the broker? I'm sure some of us that have, fortunately or unfortunately, put our money into FX markets. You might have heard of broker. There's Octa FX. There's Kiniko FX. You get so that's how it works. That's how if you know how brokers work, is like you pay your money, you give them your money, then they channel it into different commodities offering. for you. Although that's based on your discretion too, but they are the center. That they are like the center who you give your money to, and then they just like they manage your finance across different your portfolio. I don't know, is it portfolio they call it? So message broker. That's how RabbitMQ also. That's how RabbitMQ stands. You get it's like there's something called you hear this often consumer and producer. You hear that very often, and I think even this session is actually to even prepare our minds for what is to come on Saturday by Promise Academy. So because we'll be talking about the system, the full system design, hub and sub. So if you're hearing this word producer and consumer, you get that they're like two ends of this RabbitMQ flow. You get that the two ends of this RabbitMQ flow. Um, like the broker I just explained, like you are the producer that produces the money and give it to the broker. So there's the RabbitMQ sits in between. There's a producer that produces that particular information or whatever it is that is being passed. And then there's the consumer at the end that consumes this. You get, I think I should make my okay. Okay. Okay, so you can see my full screen. So and then we have it sits between services and moves message from producer to consumer, as you can see here clearly defined. And then we have this AMQ now. AMQ, that's Advanced Message Queue Protocol. So AMQ is like that's I say it's let me give this illustration now. Spring Boot is it has a relationship between the relationship that exists between RabbitMQ and AMQ is like the relationship that exists between Spring itself, like Spring itself and Spring Boot. Spring Boot bootstraps many things to simplify your Spring, like to simplify Spring. So instead of writing different configuration like your database configuration and those stuff, Spring Boot just bootstrap those things. So you don't have to do many configurations, you just have to focus on business logic. So that's what RabbitMQ does. There's a raw tool that you can use for all this pub and sub, which is called AMQ, yeah, the Advanced Messaging Queue Protocol. But then RabbitMQ just distracts it and make it quite easier. So it implements AMQ. At its core, what it implements is AMQ. So there's and what's Rabbit for those of us that have used it and for those that just getting to know it is it support asynchronous and decoupled communication. So let me explain what asynchronous. I'm sure over the course of lightning research, lightning talks with with um we've heard of this asynchronous disassemble. So asynchronous simply means let's say cutting when the process is asynchronous, it means it's non-blocking. That means it cuts off from the linear pattern of flows. You get just to make things easier. You get so when everybody is in queue. So to make everybody is on the queue to make things easier, I can just as a good child of God, you can just cut off from that line and go and do something else. So you just remove yourself, and then the process will get it attend to more people. That's again. So that's basically so asynchronous just it's just like it creates new thread and removes bulk of code that should be on the line and then just shrinks the probably delivery time and all that stuff. So that's basically what asynchronous is. It's non-blocking process, so it just does not block other process. It does its thing at the background. So what RabbitMQ does is that it pushes box of processes to the background. It pushes box of process to the background. So it pushes box of process to the background and decoupled. What does decoupled? Decoupled communication between systems. Okay. If you have implemented dependency injection and all this stuff. So what this does now is for different systems instead of tightly coupling two systems together. And this system is directly conversing with this one. Instead of that, you just send the communication what you want to send from probably the producing service to the Rabbit MQ, and then it's processes to the other two. That's what decoupling is. Just like introducing a middleman. You get introducing a middle person to actually process the communication. And it does this asynchronously, so on the background. So you don't get to feel it. So it makes the system the couple they can live without knowing each other. They can live without knowing each other. They don't have to be in a relationship. You know, for guys, no woman, no cry. So if there's no relationship, no need for tears. You get. So that's the essence of this decoupling. Yeah. So um, it's great for background jobs, event architecture, real-time notification, and chats and other stuff. So there are lots of importance. I would want to go into the code base, so I'll just rush through. This is, so I've explained how it's background jobs because of their synchronous event driven. Okay, let me just spend a little time on this event driven now. Event driven, for if you've used scheduler in Spring Boot before, if you've used scheduler before, I think RabbitMQ even makes it more very very easy. One of the issue I faced when I was using scheduler is my logic was I was designing a system that has to be I want it to be very fast, robust, and I don't want it to take up unnecessary space. So the scheduler you can put it on repeat. And if I want to create an array for repeat, that's like infinite. I don't know when it will end. Even though I put, let's say, like max number you can to 10. You get that would be like it's still taking space for events that have not happened yet. You get. So I was using event scheduler, and one of the issues I faced, while the logic was fine because I wasn't creating those events, I only trigger those events. I reschedule, I make it cyclical, and I reschedule a new event at the end of the last event. Yet at the end of this, like, if the repeat is true. So that's logic. Why it's fine? It causes something. It causes cyclical dependency. Causes cyclical dependency. It's fine, but it causes cyclical dependency. So the dependency is there. So this let's say the scheduler event is dependent on the execution service. The scheduler service is dependent on the execution service, and the execution service is also depending on the scheduling service. That's what is called cyclical dependency injection, which is the system will not even start to get it, just throw up error. So one thing that RabbitMQ help you do with those event driven architecture, that okay, this event has to happen before this thing happens, is that once okay, I thought somebody was saying something. Okay, once because of the decoupled nature of RabbitMQ, you don't feel that cyclical dependency. You get. So event driven, as as obvious as the word is, it is events that are the actions that are driven, or an act or a process or a service that is driven by an event within the application. You get. So let me go to the next slide. Okay, so you can see my beautiful let me just want to aha. You can see my beautiful motion picture. Is it GIF? Yeah, GIF. So let me just explain several things here now. The key working principle of RabbitMQ. So I said it has two ends, which is the producer and the consumer, which eventually consumes what the producer service or whatever part of the code base is chewing out or churning out. So there's the producer. The producer sends whatever it is that it's giving through to the exchange. There are different exchange types. There's type. There's top. Is it topic? We'll get there. We'll get there. So there's I'll get there. I think there are four. Four. So there's direct testing and all this stuff. So it sends it to the direct testing, and also it sent it to the exchange, and then the exchange now by now send it to the queue. determined by something called the routing key. The time something called a routing key, but some exchange that does not need a routing key. For example, the fan out does not need a routing key because it spreads it abroad. It spreads whatever information that is given it to it from by the producer abroad. You get so everybody gets it. That's how that fan out that we will get there. But that's basically the flow. So if you see this, if you are paying attention to this GIF, this motion picture here. You see the producer releasing a message. It gets to the exchange and then it goes to a queue. It gets to the exchange, then it goes to a queue. So that's basically the flow of this RabbitMQ. Yeah, that's basically the flow. So how event driven. When a producer can produce something probably later or some other time, and then the queue gets it at that particular point. And once it gets to the queue, depending on the way you are consuming it, the thing can be triggered instantly or probably redirected somewhere. You get so and we know how queues work. Queues first in, first out. So the first thing that goes into the queue is the first thing that we get out of that queue. So the consumer acknowledges process and optionally responds. That's optional. And this actually decoupling, which is the producer don't need to know who the consumer is, who is consuming it, and the consumer also don't know. That's why it's decoupled. Like you introduce a middleman. Yeah. The only person the producer needs to converse with is the middleman, the exchange. You get and the consumer likewise. So let's move on. If there is any question, you can just skip it to the end. Uh, am I here? Okay, good. So the types of exchange that I've been blabbering about. Oh, there's a question. Okay, please ask your question, please.
All right. Hi everyone. So,
Hi.
um, I wanted to ask, what are the core use cases of RabbitMQ? Because coming from a Nest.js background, I've used BullMQ a couple of times, and then it's basically for the same reason for queuing a process. So, what are the use cases which you can use RabbitMQ in
Okay.
Java?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. Okay, Glory, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say something about regarding the case thing because the time frame is a bit short. After answering for faithful, maybe we could take other questions when you're done.
Okay. Okay. So should I answer this now, or I should
Yes,
answer it?
you answered it, but subsequently to be after the section.
Okay. 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 That's fine. Mr. Faithful, can you mute? Can you mute? Okay, thank you very much. So now the ideal, or I would say the core use case of RabbitMQ. There is alternative that is quite popular. This is Kafka. The core use case is service to service communication. That means when you are building microservices. So when you are building microservices for one service to communicate to the other, instead of let's say tightly coupled communication, you decouple that communication using RabbitMQ, and those communication are also event driven. You get so the core use is for service to service communication. I don't know if you get, and but there are other uses of it actually. There are other uses of it. You get so like one of which should be like the event driven architecture. Let's say you are building, and what you are building is heavily the architecture you are using is an event driven one. You get so you can use that. You can use RabbitMQ. But for this, the use case we are going to be using this RabbitMQ to solve is for real time chat. So that's also a use. Again, that's also a use. It streamlines and decouples. It streamlines your development process. So especially let's say you are dealing with microservice now, because this is the example I'm giving is in monolithic. Now, if you are using a microservice where you are heavily invested on RabbitMQ, You don't want to look for an alternative for, let's say you want to implement a real chat, a real time chat application on your as a service. You don't want to look for or implement something different. You can just streamline it and just use RabbitMQ instead of an alternative or adding some other technologies you get. So RabbitMQ can also do that. It does that very seamlessly. I'll share my experience as well. What makes me even opt for RabbitMQ as I would say for now my best go-to solution for real-time chat. Yeah. So I hope that clears the question, Mr. Faithful. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So the different types of exchange that you have. So we have the direct route message based on exact routing key. You get so there's the routing key is like let's see the rules that the exchange used to um route route message to the queue. Yeah. The rules like you give it an order. Okay, follow this order to route the message to the queue. You get so there's also topic exchange. Topic exchange uses patterns. It uses pattern matching. There's the star and there's the hashtags. You get zero or this or multiple strings and all that. So zero if you see anything after this or if it's empty, take this. So you get. So there's also fan out. I've said something about fan out. Broadcast is like general. Everybody must get it. Like when you're playing card and you give everybody general, everybody gets it. So that's what fan out. Fan out is exchange does. So there is also an header exchange. This is headers exchange. This is less common. Now you put it instead of uh, this your is it your request header or something like that. I have not used it heavily, so I cannot say much on that. But just know it exists. Yeah, so that's very important. So importance of RabbitMQ. So reliability, message acknowledgement, durable queues and exchange. So it's very reliable. You get it's very fault tolerant in a way you get, and it's very scalable also. You can, especially when you're building because it's heavily adapted for microservices. You get, and microservices I would say is like one of the bedrock or the language when you're talking about scalability. You get so it's built for scalability, decoupling of services. You get so services communicate via message, not tight HTTP couple. When you are, I think one of the microservices I worked with, we communicate via HTTP. You get it via HTTP. Instead of that, you just have your exchange and the queue, and every of these your different services can be fetching from different queues just from one services. That's how it manages it. It's just come in between your different services, and then every of your service can fetch from it instead of going to do HTTP route. So there's also this back pressure handling where the consumer can tell the producer to, man, calm down on what you are giving me. Yeah, that's what back pressure is like. You are applying back pressure to the producer. Calm down. Let me consume what is with me. So it has that ability. So you don't need to like normally if you are working with web flux, you have to manually implement that back pressure. Is it web flux? Yeah. Yes, I think it's workflows. Yeah, you have to manually implement that back project. But for the RabbitMQ, automatically handles it for you. And then there is flexibility. It's flexible, multiple exchange types for different routing and all this stuff. So it is very flexible, and that's what we see in this particular chat app we are going to be working with. So let me go to the next slide. Okay, so WebSockets and WebSocket live message. So let us talk a bit about WebSocket. So for those of us that have implemented live, let's say live chat, you get, or if you've not, but at least you know what, at least you've seen your WhatsApp, real time messaging. So when somebody sends you, instead of your normal, the flow of your REST API, and when somebody have to, before you load something, you probably have to refresh to call an endpoint before you get those stuff. But for real-time messaging, all those real-time activities, you don't need to take an action. As soon as somebody somewhere else is taking the action, you are getting the live update. You get, like when you are watching live YouTube videos or other stuff, you're in the live chat forum and other stuff. Like what we're having now is real time. You get, so that's around that chat. So WebSocket, what it does is it helps you establish a stateful connection end to end and keeps it alive. And that's one of the problem I have with WebSocket, because I do both front end and back end. So I see one of the challenges it presented here. So the common approach, the client, the WebSocket. The WebSocket server holds all the connection and pushes message back and forth. So the challenge is managing stateful connection at scale. It becomes very, very heavy for the front end. For the front end, it becomes very heavy, especially when you build your chat in such a way where you use the real time, you use the WebSocket for sending, and you use it to also listen. Also use it for both pub and sub. Yeah, it becomes quite heavy, and heavy for the front end. Again, very heavy for the front end. And what I how I resolve that particular issue for my end, even before I explore RabbitMQ, was when I'm sending, I don't send through, I don't se- when I'm sending from on the back end now, I don't send through WebSocket. I only expose a REST API. When you want to send your message, like when you're chatting, when you expose a REST API, then you send it through that REST API. And then the REST API on the back end now, the real time messaging will now be triggered. So the backend does the triggering for the backend does the triggering for. Then you can now on your front end now listen to that message if you are tuned in to that particular channel. And WebSocket, if you are working with Stomp WebSocket, it has different channels for the public, for public chat and for in private chat. They have two different channels for that. But RabbitMQ just have one channel. You just have to attach the right routing key, and then you get what you are looking for. You get, so that's one of the challenge. Handling reconnect, that's one very crazy thing. Handling reconnect, load balancing and back pressure, it does not have that by default. So tight coupling between message producer, logic and WebSocket handling, and add that to integrate with other services or background workers. So one of the other challenges I was also faced when I was implementing this um is the is the how do I call it again? It's security issues. Actually, it's a security issue. So the WebSocket is does not really care about your Spring security again. So it establishes a connection even before your Spring security speaks. Like before your Spring security talks, the connection has it. Although that's the same case with RabbitMQ, but at least RabbitMQ, that's if you enable the Stomp plugin on your RabbitMQ to establish even before your Spring security speaks. So but for this one now, when it established that would actually cause like security breach and all the stuff where somebody can actually without going through the proper security measures to get. So what I have to do for that is to implement its own like I now have to go away from my Spring security context and then implement an interceptor, that will intercept the what is coming from that particular WebSocket connection before it gets to my backend, and then do some security. So the person have to be logged in before the person even log in through Spring security. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges you get. So okay, RabbitMQ now. WebSocket layer becomes consumer for RabbitMQ now. There's backend service push message RabbitMQ. Okay. WebSocket server consumes from the queue. Okay, that's on the back end, yes. On the front end. So then this is the client. So benefits of using RabbitMQ. Before we go to the code base now, the code will just take us a very just a few times. So the clear separation of business, one which I've explained, the clear separation of business business logic and versatility. Again, the multiple WebSocket instances can consume from same queue. You get multiple WebSocket instances can consume from the same queue, and it's very easier to actually implement. And the logic is very straightforward. Like it's when I discovered it, it's just too sweet. You get it's just too sweet to implement. So without further discussion, let's just go to the code base. Let's go to the code base and let's just do something very fast. Why is this one? Okay, let me start something. Okay, so are we together? Um, okay, let me share this screen. Stop sharing. Let me share. I think I'll need to share my entire screen. Let me share. Okay, good. Can you see my screen? Okay, good.
Yeah, very well.
Okay, so let's just do this. Let's see NJUG. One. Uh, yes. Okay, so the very important dependencies that we need is the RabbitMQ. This one, the Spring RabbitMQ. And what else? We need web. Of course, we need the Spring Web. We need just include number. Also need Docker. Docker components. What else? I think that should be all. Spring Web and like. Okay, I think that should be all. So these are the four major, just for this test purpose. These are the major four dependencies we need. So I'll go ahead and put. mm, Okay. So because we are testing, I'll not do uh, any form of architecture. Everything will just be on this folder. Everything will just be on this folder. So let me just call this controller class. We need a controller. Then uh, we need the need something called the message. What will be sending? We need the message. And three classes that are important now. We need a RabbitMQ config class. Then we need RabbitMQ producer. So optionally, just because I also like to like console log or not console log, just for learning purposes. Let's just add the consumer class. But you know, a chat app. So we already have the front end. So we really do not need the consumer class on the back end. Yeah, but let's just add that share as well. Rabbit MQ. So this is all we need. So we do infrastructure. Well, call private stream, second stream, and private stream. Okay, that's all we need for that. And then for the config now, we need this configuration. So, add that there. So things we need here, we need the three bins that we basically need is the exchange, the routing key, no, the exchange type, sorry, the exchange type, routing key is fine. Then we need the queue bin, and we need the binder because the binder is what binds both the exchange and the routing key together. So, but because we are sending a message, not a string, because by default the RabbitMQ makes use of a simple message converter. Simple message converter only focuses on three things. So if you pass in Java objects, it will throw up an error. It will throw up an error. So the simple message converter only focuses on byte array, strings, and serialization, serialized Java objects. You get. So it won't be able to process raw Java objects. It won't be able to process raw Java object properly. So you have to include Jackson converter to be able to convert your Java object into a serialized version. You get. So you need that converter. So that's for the Rabbit template that will be processing the message from the producer to the consumer. So we need that converter also. Let's say Jackson converter. Let's see. So let me just save time. I think I'll copy and paste from here. Um, okay, but before I do that, before I go there now, note I included Docker Compose. So I'll explain this Docker Compose for us. Let's copy this. Let's place everything here. So this Docker Compose, what it does is it's instead of just manually putting your RabbitMQ there or just installing the RabbitMQ directly, it's managed by the Docker container. I have it open here. You can see. So I have it open here. So it's managed by a Docker container for those of us that have Dockerized. And it's a very important concept. So this port is for this one is for the RabbitMQ console on the browser. This is the one that it's connected. So this is the one it uses internally in the Docker, and it maps it to this one externally that other services can it's exposed this one externally that other external services can interface with. You get. So, and this is the one for the WebSocket. This is the one that will be exposed for the WebSocket. You get. So the password guess and RabbitMQ stomp allowed so that the front end will be able to access it. So cost storage, if you don't put this here, you have a cost storage issue. So volumes restart unless stopped, and then this command now. This command is used to enable. You can see enable here is used to enable the stomp. This is what establishes your web socket. So this without this, your RabbitMQ would be able to perform WebSocket functionalities. You get. So with this now, and that dependency, that Docker dependency I included is so that when I'm running the applications, it will just pin up my Docker. If the image is not fetched already, to fetch that image and then spin up my container. And if I shut down the service, it will also shut down that particular container. So that's why I include it if I'm using this, especially for containers that I can forget that I'm running that container. Yeah. So okay, I think that's it too. Let me go to the config now, complete the defense. So the first thing I want to consider here is yeah, this these fields, they are very important. So the clear the keys. So this is the Q prefix. This is the prefix that Q will use. This is the exchange name, message dot exchange. All these names are very important. Then this is the routing pattern. So this is the the instructions that to look and then route it to this particular, and it's very important because here now we are using we'll be using topic, yeah, in topic the exchange, topic exchange. Yeah, so if you are sending to, let's say you are messaging Ade, only Ade will receive that message. If you are messaging Rosemary, only Rosemary will receive that message. Or if you are messaging Toshiko, only Toshiko will receive that message. And if you are messaging to the public, only public will receive that message. Yeah, so you don't need two different configurations for public and private message. It will just work for both public and private. So the next thing you want to do is need the, let me just copy all explain them.
Hello, Sam. Please can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Will 5 minutes be enough for you to demo the code
Yeah.
version?
I'll be done very soon.
Are you sure we can make it like part two
You said
to everybody? Are you sure we can make it like part two
part
of
two.
this
Oh,
topic?
okay.
So people can use this
So
minutes to ask questions for the one you've done. If the 15 minutes will not be enough for you to conclude this part, maybe we should just use it for questions. Then we'll fix another day to demo this from the beginning.
okay, okay. So okay, I don't know if that's the case. If there is a question, I don't know, you can ask, or unless you want to
Please, do you have any question, or we should move ahead
Okay, can
with
I
your
talk?
response? All
Can I
right,
talk?
you can go ahead.
All right. So, recently I built an application that contains a chat system and it's going live in a few weeks. I actually use WebSockets for it. So, I'm trying to get um the main reason why I joined is probably I could see reason to change the WebSockets to RabbitMQ because I've seen that I can use RabbitMQ, but I don't know yet. So, I want to ask if there is any importance of RabbitMQ over WebSockets or they go together. I don't understand that part. Thank you.
Okay. That's good. Any other question?
Yeah, Ikechukwu, you can
Um,
unmute us.
yes. I wanted to ask. You mentioned Apache Kafka, so I really wanted to ask what differences, what do we get from using Apache? What do we get from using RabbitMQ? That
Okay.
is trade off.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Who else? Any other question? Okay.
Or, and excuse me, why shouldn't I serialize my Java objects? Just in case.
Okay. Um, okay, let me start from the first one. So the importance, from my experience, yeah, from my experience. So I don't know, it might be different. It might be different in your own regard. So from my experience, because it's not like even the plugin we are enabling is also over WebSockets. Like we are removing WebSockets. So what what I described was the advantage that RabbitMQ now adds on top of that particular layer. You get. So when you're using WebSockets, let's say you're working for what you want to design is for both private and public. For with RabbitMQ and the proper design logic, you just need one. Just need one key for that. You just need one key for that, and you'll be able to get that done. And also, I said something about the security issues with that WebSocket. From my experience, is that the web connection is established even before the Spring Security picks it up. And with that now, what I know how to do was to intercept the web socket, and it's just like I'm adding an extra layers of implementation. It gets to get to make sure that particular connection is secured. It gets so I know how to beside my Spring Security, I know how to intercept and then make that connection. And also there's for your WebSocket, if you are doing your normal pub and so that you publish instead of sending through a REST API. Instead of sending through a REST API, and you send also, it is very heavy on the front end. It is very heavy on the front end, and there's lots of reconnect issue. You get so are supposed to just listening. Now, out of the box, the implementation of RabbitMQ is just that. You have to first of all send through REST API, and then it publishes. It gets a real time. You get so that's one of the ease of use for RabbitMQ. And it's quite very easy to implement and very straightforward, unlike WebSocket. You don't have to do any extra setup for it. Once, even if you have your RabbitMQ all going, you just only have to enable the Stomp plugin, and then you can convert whatever it is you are doing to real-time messaging. I don't know if that answers the question for the first person that you asked.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good. So for the question of Kafka, so honestly, I have not touched Kafka, so I really cannot speak on that. But I know several people have used Kafka. They said it's more powerful than RabbitMQ, and I cannot speak to that. But what I've used is this RabbitMQ. I've explored and the little bit with it. You get so that's where I'm coming from. So I think there's one other question. Sorry. Okay. Yes. It said why Sigalize? Why the Sigalize? Why not Sigalize? So this from my own experience again. So I tried the Sigalize. I tried the Sigalize option because now, like I said, the simple message converter it only accepts the string literal strings, and then the byte array, and then the serialized or Java. So I tried that, but what happened is I got like my REST API was giving me instructions because the RabbitMQ itself by default that when you call the producer, that particular function, that particular stuff is asynchronous. So you not know that it failed. But what I got instructions, and I checked my application out, seeing infinite loop of failures. It was just failing and kept failing on. It didn't even stop because I was using that raw that serializable. So I just include that. I implemented serializable on my raw Java object. So I was getting an issue. So I think that's that from my experience. It's bad. So you can just simply what you can just do is you can see this code here. You can just do this, and that will solve all the problem. So instead of using that this thing, just create the Jackson to JSON message converter, and then you create a custom rabbit. Normally, what you want to use is the rabbit template this thing in your producer to publish. Then you check this producer here. Oh, sorry, it's not here. Maybe I should just show the already ready code. So if you check this producer here, you see that this producer is using this RabbitMQ template by default and stuff. So, but if you check the config, okay, I removed something that would have implemented this, which is let me check. Okay, now if I even put it, it might fail. So what you would have done here is to auto wire it to solve the issue, and then there's I think it's is it prioritize to check so that it will check to take a particular I think, costume let check, so that it will take this particular take that particular method. I'm not sure if it's prioritized. Let me check. So okay, qualifier. Sorry, the keyword there is qualifier. So use qualifier so that it will take this particular that particular one that you declared. It will use that particular converter that you declared. So instead of including that serializable, this is the best way to go about it. So any other question? Because I think we don't have much time. I would have completed the code. But I think I
So you
okay.
can move to the next.
All right. I wanted asking a question, but I think I'll reserve that since we might likely have another section on this topic. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Um, any other question? Hello. Okay, since no other
Hello,
question. Yeah, yeah.
please can we access this code?
The code. Yes, yes. I'll drop the code. I'll drop the code. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, so
Madam
we have
Gloria.
basically 2 minutes remaining. I would like everyone to just react for our guest speaker tonight. So thank you very much for your time. Please, apology because of the time frame. We'll be having another section for this, and that's when we will be displaying the code aspect. So for the record of this section and the slide, those will be shared on the group. Then we'll announce to the house when we'll be having the part 2 of this section. So everyone that has a project on it or anyone that make a trial of it will really go in depth of it. So thank you everyone for your time and
All right.
for your
Sorry to cut it in. I would like to mention our social media group links are right in the message section. Please, if you are not following any of our media, please do well to check the messages. The link are sent there. Just click to follow up. Yeah.
thank you very much, Toshiko, for that reminder. Thank you. Thank you everyone. We'll call it a night here. But meanwhile, said you should keep your eyes fixed on the social platform because very soon a flyer for the boot camp will be announced and will be out. So just keep your eyes fixed on the social media so you don't miss if you want to participate. So having said that, I want to appreciate everyone for being here and thank you and have a wonderful night rest. Thank you everyone. Thank you.